Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan. Let's begin with the top stories this hour. Provision of non-suspension of lawmakers facing criminal charges endorsed despite widespread objection raises risk of defaming and criminalization of politics. The Nepal Trust declared around 23,000 ropinis of land across the nation owned by the former royal family left unattended by the government. Rift between the US President Donald Trump and the other leaders from the G7 nations come to a fore during the summit in Canada. And Spanish world #1 Rafa Nadal and 7th seed Austrian Dominic Thiem set up title clash at Roland Garros. Let's begin with the latest national political updates. The House of Representatives has finally passed the federal regulation following 4 months of deliberations. The regulation that has been introduced to strengthen the parliamentary proceedings has provisions ranging from Prime Minister's presence in regular question-answer session to prohibiting parliamentarians from taking part in discussions concerning their personal interests. According to the new regulation, there will be a direct question-answer round between the lawmakers and the Prime Minister during the Parliament session. The Prime Minister's presence has been made mandatory at least twice a month. This exercise is widely adopted in countries like the United Kingdom and India in a bid to make the government accountable towards the Parliament. The questions raised in the Parliament have to be addressed by the concerned minister within 5 days. Likewise, there will be an end to the practice of lawmakers affecting the committee by putting forth issues of personal interest, as the lawmakers now cannot take part in discussions that concern their personal benefit. As per the new regulation, the parliamentarians should be given the working agenda a day prior to the Parliament meeting. Despite decreasing the number of ministries and parliamentarians, the Federal Committee has been expanded through the regulation. Although recommendations were only made for 7 committees in the House of Representatives, the number has been increased to 10. Meanwhile, a new provision has been introduced for 33% women representation in each committee. The parliamentary regulation with the provision of non-suspension for lawmakers facing criminal charges has been sanctioned despite a widespread objection. Analysts say that the provision is likely to have a long-term negative impact, including defaming of the nation's overall politics that is otherwise meant for society's positive transformation. It's understandable that politics should never be granted as a tool to reap undue benefits. Politics in any nation should be devoted towards fulfilling the interest of citizens and nation at large. The reality, however, is different in the country, particularly taking into account the latest development. Lawmakers in the federal parliament have formulated law in line with their interest, which would help them enjoy leeway to escape even in case of any criminal liability. Experts are of the view that it is against the principle of justice to formulate law in this fashion. Moreover, the provision is also likely to lead the politics towards criminalization. As per the regulation, lawmakers facing criminal charges are devoid of salaries and facilities. They would, however, be allowed to continue in their position unless convicted. Just a few lawmakers have stood against the controversial provision. Besides making a mockery of the rule of law, the provision has also reduced the dignity of the post of lawmaker itself. And moving on, the government has been adapting political and diplomatic strategies for international relations. Several state visits from the ministerial levels have boosted the long-term policy level decisions. However, in recent time, in comparison to politicians, the Chief of Army is seen more active in foreign visits. At a time when the Army Chief is just 3 months away from retirement, Army Chief Rajendra Chhetri is on a 6-day state visit to India. This is Chhetri's second India visit after taking over the leadership of the Army Command. Prior to this, Chhetri had reached India in line with the long-standing tradition of receiving the honorary rank of General of the Indian Army. The reason behind the recent visit, however, is yet to be known. Upon returning home, Chhetri will embark on a state visit to China for the second time. In his 3 years term, Army Chief Chhetri embarked on a visit to the United States of America 4 times. He has also been to Canada, Dubai, the UK, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, among 14 other countries. Nepalese army has been taking national defense course in India, Pakistan, China, America and the UK. Canada is also providing training quota to Nepalese army in recent time. However, the continuous visit in the capacity of Army Chief is confined to trainings and exercises. Meanwhile, in the past 3 years, Army Chief of several other countries including China, England, Thailand and America have also visited Nepal. Despite these visits carrying a positive impact, it is necessary for the government to be aware of the powerful nations keeping Nepal army in their priority. With that, it's now time for a short break. More news when we come back. Do stay tuned. Service charges are collected by hotel and restaurant businesses in the pretext of supporting their workers. The Hotel Association and trade unions affiliated with political parties, however, have yet again agreed to distribute the service charges between themselves. The consumer rights activists have firmly stood against the businesses and trade unions pocketing the extra amount collected from customers. The hotel businesses and labor unions had agreed to introduce the provision of service charge a decade earlier in pretext of better managing the spontaneous tips provided by customers on the top of billed amount. The consumer rights activists had resorted to protest, citing that it was against the law to force customers pay the amount that otherwise should have been voluntary contribution. Despite refutation, hotels and restaurants imposed additional 10% service charge in their bills. Although collected in the pretext of providing the money to low-wage employees, the businesses have been pocketing at least 32% of the service charges by themselves. The government recently introduced provision that would allow the employers' association and authorized trade union as well to share the amount. Now, 2% of the total service charges would go to the hands of the hotel association and 3% to trade unions. The association and labor union leaders have also agreed to jointly accumulate the amount in the services like airlines catering, bungee jumping and cable car, among others. The businesses have further strengthened the syndicate by making it mandatory for owners imposing such extra tariffs to attend the membership of the hotel along with the restaurant and bar associations. The service charges imposed on customers by a single five-star hotel in the country amounts to as much as 10 million rupees a month. It's unfortunate on the part of the government to remain indifferent towards the matter, even though the Hotel Association and trade unions force such a big deal of business agreement at the cost of the abuse of the customers' money. And we move on to some international update. Divisions between US President Donald Trump and the other leaders of the G7 nations have been laid bare at a summit in Canada. The US leader made a surprise call for Russia to be readmitted to the group of top industrial nations after its expulsion for annexing Crimea. But German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the EU members attending the summit all agreed it should not happen. Frictions over trade tariffs recently imposed by the Trump administration are overshadowing the summit. Canada called Trump's trade tariff illegal, while European Council President Donald Tusk warned that Trump's stance on trade, climate change and Iran constituted a real danger. After rumors there would be no joint closing statement because of the divisions, President Trump told reporters he believed there would be one after all. It is an annual summit bringing together Canada, the US, the UK, France, Italy, Japan and Germany, which represent more than 60% of the global net worth between them. Economics tops the agenda, although the meetings now always branch off to cover major global issues. Welcome back. The Nepal Trust has found around 22,000 ropenis of land across the nation owned by the former royal family, which has been left unattended by the government. The Ratna temple, built as a symbol of love between the late King Mahendra and Queen Ratna within the 174 ropeni land around Pokhara's Fewa Lake, 6 decades ago, has been left unattended for long now. The palace, guarded by huge walls, is inaccessible to the general public. It is no different for Chitwan Bharatpur's Dialo bungalow, where the late King Mahendra breathed his last. Apart from general caretaking, the bungalow that was built in 767 ropenis of land has also been left unused. Likewise, Makwanpur's historic Kantipur home has also been left useless. Government has not paid attention to preserve these historic establishments, let alone make productive use of them. The 22,000 ropenis of land discovered by the trust falls in 12 districts including Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, Lalitpur, Makwanpur, Kaski and Nuwakot, among others. The Nepal Trust was established a decade ago to investigate properties owned by the royal family and put it into use for the benefit of the public. However, the trust has yet to estimate the exact extent of the royal family's property owing to the lack of adequate human resources. The Nepal Trust Act has a provision that allows the trust to use these properties for health and education purposes. However, government has paid least attention so far in making use of these properties that are worth billions, thereby risking them from potential misuse. And now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And the question is, why has the government remained indifferent towards utilizing the properties of late King Birendra? Your options are option A, conflict of interest, option B, fear of dispute, and option C, ignorance of importance. The voting is on. Type NAWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 8080 and do share your opinion with us. And we had asked the residents of Kaski, Kailali and Surkhet regarding what they think about the provision sanctioned in the parliament that allows lawmakers facing criminal charges to continue in their position. Let's take a look at what they have to say.
Public voice.
जसले गल्ती गर्छ कानुनले चाहिँ त्यसलाई चाहिँ सजाय दिनै पर्छ
कोही मान्छेले गल्ती गर्छ अथवा फौजदारी त्यस्तो अभियोग लाग्छ भने सबैलाई नियम चाहिँ समानै हुनुपर्छ
सबै जनता एकै भए हुनाले यो कसैलाई संसदलाई अलग कानुन र साधारण जनतालाई अलग कानुन भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ गर्नु हुँदैन एउटै हुनुपर्छ
यदि उले कानुन विरुद्ध गरेको भने त्यसलाई निलम्बनै गरेको राम्रो
प्रत्येक सांसद यदि यसरी उम्किने हो भने फौजदारी मुद्दा लागेको अरु जनताहरूले पनि त्यसको आवाज उठाउँछन् त्यसैले यो निलम्बन हुनै पर्छ
कानुन बनाउनेहरूले जे गरे पनि हुन्छ अपराधी भए पनि उले छुट पाउनु पर्छ भन्ने त त्यो चाहिँ कहिले पनि त्यो कुनै पनि त्यो हालतमा त्यो मान्य कुरा होइन
न्यून स्तरमा कार्य गर्ने मान्छेहरूलाई सरकारले कारबाही गर्न हुने अनि सांसदहरूले आफू सेक्युरिटी हुने त्यो कुनै पनि हालतमा हुनु हुँदैन त्यो भए पनि अपराधीहरू बढ्छन् त्यो सांसदहरूले पनि अपराध गर्न सक्छन्
And now time for sports news.
Sports news.
Spanish world number 1 Rafa Nadal and Austrian Dominic Thiem have set up the title clash at Roland Garros. Top-seeded Nadal defeated 5th-seed Juan Martin Del Potro in straight sets 6-4, 6-1, 6-2. Nadal took just over 2 hours to dispatch the Argentine, seeded 5th in the tournament. With the win, Nadal has become the only player after Roger Federer to reach the finals of a Grand Slam for the 11th time. The 31-year-old Spaniard had won his first French Open title in 2005. Nadal will face 7th-seed Thiem in the finals tomorrow. Thiem made it to his first Grand Slam appearance with a straight-set win over unseeded Italian Marco Cecchinito as he won 7-5, 7-6, 6-1. The 24-year-old Thiem is also the first Austrian to reach the finals since 1995. And now, update on the Russia World Cup 2018. Defending champions Germany have wrapped up their World Cup preparations with a 2-1 win over Saudi Arabia at their home ground Leverkusen. Germany took an early lead in the match through Tim Werner's 8th-minute goal. Marco Ruo's attempt in the 16th minute hit the crossbar. Thomas Müller's 40th-minute attempt to double Germany's lead was adjudged offside. However, Germany doubled the lead in the first half itself as Saudi Arabia's Omar scored an own goal. Trailing 2-0 behind, Saudi Arabia managed to reduce the deficit late in the second half when Taija Al-Jassim managed to score off a rebound. Jassim scored the goal after a penalty taken by Mohamed Al-Salawi was blocked by the German keeper. This was Germany's first win in the last 5 warm-up matches. Likewise, in another warm-up match, Uruguay defeated 10-man Uzbekistan 3-0. Elsewhere, Croatia defeated Senegal 2-1, while Poland and Chile settled for 2-2 draw. And those were the latest headlines. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. and stay with us for more news and entertainment on KTVSD. Great day ahead.